How to sing with the forward or the mask placement the real way. You see, whenever I talk about this topic, I either get really angry or I just start laughing, and I find it so funny because this stupid placement, it confuses the heck out of me when I was a beginner, and I got stuck for so long because of this idea of the forward and the mask placement. So if you have watched my videos, you have been following me on YouTube for a while now, you have known that I freaking hate this term forward and mask placement. I hate it, like I just hate it. Okay? Period. Then what the heck am I making a video today talking about it? Because I want to put a stop to all this confusion about what is mask placement, what is forward placement, because the truth is this. In today's vocal teaching industry, a lot of vocal coaches, they advocate forward placement, mask placement. You should feel a lot of vibration in your mask, in the front of your face. Well, first of all, it can't be wrong if so many vocal coaches, if literally every single vocal coaches are saying that, oh, you need the forward and mask placement. If everyone is saying that, it can't be wrong. Can it? To a certain extent, it is not wrong. And that is why I've shot this video to explain to you why and what it really means to sing with a forward and mask placement. So let's begin. Now, you see, most of the time, if let's say right now, I don't tell you anything, I don't tell you the real reason behind it, I just tell you, hey, could you try to put the sound in your mask, in your forward placement? This is what I would do last time. Oh no, I thought you're supposed to get a better high note when you're putting in a mask. Now, you see, what I just did is what most people will do, especially if you're a left brain and logical person. Why is that so? Because when we hear, I want you to place your voice forward, place your voice in a mask, what a lot of left brain people we naturally do is this. We try to find the displacement between our vocal cords and the placement. So what we do, the displacement is the shortest distance between our vocal cords and our mask. So what we do, we allow our sound to come out like this. So as a result, we get displacement. Okay, but what we don't realize is that our low and stubborn chest voice placement actually resides in the front, in this area. So what then happens is, instead of bypassing this area and going into accessing your high placement from behind, what you're doing is you are literally trying to jam your sound through the low placement. Most of us, if you find that the forward placement doesn't help you, what we're doing is we are literally trying to sing through and into our low placement, thinking that it is the forward and mask placement. And that is why when a vocal coach just tell the student to put the voice in a mask, it is a very dangerous thing to do, because they don't understand what is really happening when you are feeling a lot of vibrations in your mask, in your front placement or in your forward placement. Now, this is the truth. The forward and mask placement is useful, and we do in fact feel it. But remember this, the forward and mask placement, it is a reflection of the high placement.
If you study voice today, you're told to sing out of your throat and to sing to your nasal cap, which is called the mask. What they teach today is the opposite of what Caruso teaches, which is the greatest voice of all time. So how did that ever happen? So that was a light for me when I read I just said, this is what Caruso says. We have to take him seriously. When he says sing from the back of the throat, how can you sing from the back of the throat and sing from the front in the mask? How do you do that at the same time? It's not physically possible. Somebody has to be right and somebody has to be wrong. Caruso was right.
So if you were to take a look at this diagram here, the only reason why we feel vibrations in our mask, in our forward placement, is because the correct way is to allow your sound to be released from your vocal cords and allow it to hit the walls of the pharynx. It is where your high, complete mixed voice is located at. And then you allow the sound to hit that strong, high placement where you actually have your backbone to support the sound. And then when it gets reflected, very much like how light can be reflected, sound can be reflected as well. It will get reflected in the form of resonance. What do I mean? It'll be reflected off their heart and strong high placement into head, nasal and chest resonance. And when the head and nasal resonance hits the front of your face, it creates vibration, sympathetic vibrations on your mask, on your front placement. And then if you were to put your hand on your chest, you feel vibrations on your chest as well, and that is where the chest resonance is being reflected off, and that is why you feel chest resonance. Most of the time, the reason why vocal coaches tell their students to feel it in a mask is because most of the time their students are in a low placement and they are trying to influence their students into a high placement by telling them to sing in the mask. Because as I've just explained, when you sing in the mask, when you feel more vibration in your head and your nose bridge area, there's more head resonance and nasal resonance. And we know that in the high placement, you'll be able to get all three resonances. So we see most vocal coaches, when they say feel it in the front and the mask placement, they are right. But unfortunately, they don't know what is really happening behind. And because they fail to explain this to their students, my vocal coach back then failed to explain that to me. Therefore, for almost 2 years, I'm trying to find the mask placement and going like, hey! And little did I know that instead of bypassing this low placement by allowing my sound to be reflected off the strong high placement support point, I'm actually directly engaging my sound into this low placement, the tongue, the larynx, the jaw. Then, if you try to do the same thing, you'll feel the same thing. Your voice being choked up because you're literally pushing all the acoustic energy into the weak low placement. And of course, if you do that, which I don't blame you because I have done that, you are going to feel vibrations here, but the vibrations are wrong vibrations. They are vibrations caused due to, I don't want to get too in depth into the physics behind it, but they are what we call damped resonance. Those resonance, they are damped, and therefore when you try to do that, it becomes very tired, and when it's tired, your voice breaks. But if you keep it back there, you instead form a standing wave. You allow the energy to be directed efficiently and effectively. You are now using physics, and you are taking advantage of physics and its acoustic energy properties to form a standing wave to make your high notes much easier to sing. And as a result, you'll also get a front and mask placement, but you know that that is the correct mask placement, the correct front and forward placement. Does that make sense? I hope it did, and it has cleared up all the confusion for you. And that is why when I'm teaching my private clients, I never ever mention the word forward placement or mask placement until they mention it to me and I have this conversation with them. Because if I would just teach you to put your sound in your mask, it's like a plastic surgeon. He's trying to teach his students how to perform plastic surgery. So instead of showing his students how to cut the nose, how to cut the eyelids and everything, he showed the students the before and after pictures of his patients. And he tell his students, you see the after? I want you to cut the before face until it looks like the after face. It's literally like, just do forward placement. Feel the vibration here. As stupid as it sounds, if we use the analogy of a plastic surgeon telling his students to just look at the after picture and create that, and it is literally what vocal coaches are doing when they're telling their students, oh, put in a mask, put in a mask. But don't get me wrong, a lot of naturally born talented singers who have been singing since young, when they hear the forward placement, they can do it, they can execute it perfectly. Well, guess what? Because naturally, because they're so used to the high placement already from young, like I said, their forward placement is a result, it's a reflection of their high placement. So thinking back to a plastic surgeon example, if I don't teach you how to cut the nose, right? Later, you cut the nose until it looks like a forehead. A cookbook, a chef, Gordon Ramsay, he just show you the final dish and he say, I want you to cook this dish for me. He don't tell you what ingredients to use, what temperature to heat the dish at and everything. Recreate this dish for me. Of course, you know, if you have been watching Hell's Kitchen, right? You know that those chefs can do it because they are good already. It's like naturally born talented singers who already have the high placement. Where you tell them to use the forward placement, they use it instinctively and naturally, like the proper way. But if you're a struggling singer, if you're a new chef and I ask you to do that, you can't. You just can't do it. Right? You'll probably put pork in beef Wellington. I don't know. That's why I personally feel vocal coaches who have been singing since young, they are the so-called naturally talented singers. They should not be allowed to teach struggling singers how to sing. Because most struggling singers will just end up hurting themselves, wasting time, wasting money, like myself back then. I believe that the most ethical thing that those vocal coaches can do is to refer those kind of students, struggling singers, to another vocal coach who have actually gone through that journey, right? Who got good, who wasn't just good at the beginning. But don't get me wrong as well. I'm not saying that vocal coaches who are naturally born talented singers should not have a place in the vocal teaching industry. Those are the vocal coaches that they are normally very, very good at teaching kids or singers who are already very good. And they're helping those naturally talented singers get even better. They are very good at doing that. Because those naturally talented singers and kids, if I try to teach them these concepts, it is not going to get into them. Really, my channel is only for singers who you know that you have difficulties singing. You are not just naturally born talented. That is what my channel is created for. And anyone who's a naturally born talented singer, if they watch my channel, they'll be like, why is this guy making things so complicated? Isn't singing a very easy thing? That is what they will be thinking. But hey, most singers, we are not just naturally born talented singers. We haven't been singing since we are 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. But that's fine, because when you actually access your high, complete, mixed voice vocal placement, you are actually picking up the sound production pattern of great singers, which acts as a leveling field. And once the field is leveled, then a practice that you do in the high placement is going to be equal and fair. If else, if you're always practicing, but you're always practicing in this low placement, you're trying to find a forward placement in this low placement, you will never improve fast. On the flip side, if you practice in your high placement, you will see fast results, like what I've done in the past 1 year. And go ahead and check out my singing transformation here if you haven't already watched that video after this video. So for those of you who have been watching all my YouTube videos and you're wondering, so have I actually accessed my high placement? Do I need to get the course so that I can access my high placement? Just ask yourself this one very simple question. Did I see huge and fast improvements in my singing after watching JJ's YouTube videos and implementing what JJ has talked about in his videos? If the answer is yes, then there's a very good chance that you have already accessed your high, complete, mixed voice vocal placement, and what you need to do now is to practice everything, high notes, low notes, oo, a, r, e, vowel, whatever consonants, all in that high placement. But if you feel more like, yeah, I understand what he's singing, whatever he's singing really makes sense, and I get it, but I've been practicing and I'm still not improving. If that's your answer, then you know that you have not accessed your high placement yet. You might have understood what the high, complete, mixed voice vocal placement means from a logical and intellectual point of view, but you still can't connect the dots and put it into practical use. So how then do you connect the theory with actual practical implementation? Follow the link in the description box below and get complete mixed voice 1.0, because in the course I show you step by step how you can access your high placement and train your high notes in the high, complete, mixed voice vocal placement. I hope this video explains to you what the forward placement really means, and it clears up all the confusion you had. So stop trying to find a displacement and jam everything into your low placement and start thinking about how can I move my sound back and understand how can I allow this acoustic energy to latch onto a strong high placement, high complete mixed voice placement support point, and then form ascending waves so that it can be reflected in the form of head, nasal and chest resonance into my mask to get the real mask and forward placement. I've got to go now. Get a course if you need to, and I'll see you in my next video.